Thank you, Steve, and welcome everybody today to NFT Fest. I want to reiterate just a couple of little housekeeping. If you're on Twitter, you can follow us if you're not already at NFT Fest Oz, and that's Oz spelled AUS. And also to reiterate the Animoca NFT giveaway that Rochelle was talking about before, you can head to nftfest.com.au/giveaway. And go and put your ETH address. If you don't have an ETH address, good news. We're going to show you how to set one up later today on one of our panels. So you will have around about a week to do this. So don't feel like you're going to be missing out. What I'm tasked with today as one of the co-founders of NFT Fest is to really just set the scene for how we are here today with strong enthusiasm and excitement for the space. It really is a buzz to behold at the moment around NFTs. There's going to be lots of people on this call right now that are very, very new to the space, and there's going to be a lot of people that have been building for 4, 5, and 6 years. So that we've got a really diverse base of attendees. But what I want to do is just take a really quick walk down memory lane. So sort of 2015, 2016, 17, we saw the emergence of a number of creators starting to build sort of NFT projects or collections, NFT art that are all underpinned by smart contracts, and particularly on the Ethereum blockchain. Rochelle mentioned CryptoKitties before. Steve just mentioned CryptoPunks before. CryptoPunks particularly has sort of transitioned through to mainstream culture. We've seen Jay-Z recently change his Twitter avatar to a CryptoPunk. CryptoPunks have become the ultimate flex online almost in a 2021 world. So we're seeing now that people are utilizing their NFTs almost as their digital identity. In March this year, we saw a significant sale from the artist Beeple for $69 million USD that really sort of sent shockwaves around the world and captured mainstream media and sort of was part of that water cooler discussion. Why is someone paying $69 million USD for a quote unquote JPEG? So this sort of really started the avalanche of the snowball rolling downhill. Previously to that, we sort of saw NBA Top Shot onboard a lot of people to the NFT space as well. And as sort of a former NBA basketball card collector with Upper Deck, Fleer, Top Deck, etc., in the tops, I should say, back in the day, I was really excited to sort of see what the NBA Top Shot was doing by digitizing their existing IP and making a marketplace for that. Following on from the Beeple sale, though, we sort of saw the emergence of the Bored Ape Yacht Club in late April, early May, Meebits being Lava Lab's third project. And we're going to hear from a guy named Kai Ghani later today, who's the founder of the Meebits DAO. So Kai's got plenty in store for you around the metaverse and the Meebits collection. But we also saw Gary Vaynerchuk's VFriends project that sort of onboarded a lot of new people to the space and strategically attached a 3-year in real life conference to that particular token that sort of started to redefine how we think about NFTs as not only being just digital, but it can be actually an access token to exclusive events and getting access to exclusive individuals. From that early sort of May period, we then sort of went into what our American friends called JPEG Summer. There was an absolute avalanche of new projects. And some of those new projects we're going to hear from today, like the World of Women. We also have Koala Intelligence Agency coming up on our first panel. We've got Maddie from the MetaKey here today as well. So we're going to see some of those projects. Many won't make it, many will, but it's exciting nonetheless. And right now, as we sit here on September 30th or the 29th, depending on what time zone you're currently in, the momentum has never been stronger for NFTs. But ultimately, NFTs aren't just about the projects that I'm talking about. Your future marriage certificate is probably going to be an NFT. Your insurance policy is probably going to be an NFT. Whether that's in the next 12 months or the next 5 or 10 years, I don't have the answer to that question, but other panelists today may. Now, as I've set the scene, I want to talk about some of the common misperceptions and myths of NFTs. And we've heard one from Rochelle already. It's just a JPEG. Why would I pay for something? Even Joe Rogan, the famous podcaster, said this a couple of days ago. Not going to make it, Joe. I can just right click and save the image or save on my camera roll, and I own the exact same thing as you do that paid a couple of $1,000s. As I was talking about before, what NFTs do is give you access underneath via the smart contract. So if you're not familiar with smart contracts, you're going to hear a little bit more about that today throughout the day as well. But ultimately, NFTs are verifiable. They are digital assets that you own, and they are backed by blockchain technology. So yes, the analogy that's often used is there's one true Mona Lisa painting in the world, but lots and lots of people around the world can have copies of it, but there's really only one true owner. And that's what NFTs are doing. It's proving internet ownership, and it's making the internet scarce again. I think most of the people on the call have grown up in a world where the internet is abundant, and you can just copy and paste your way through, rip this, download that. We are seeing a paradigm shift now, and it's very, very exciting. So the second myth I want to talk about, as I just take a breath, it has no value. So I want to talk about Pokemon cards and NBA collectible cards, physical cards that I used to collect as a kid. Ultimately, some are worth millions of dollars, some are worth $10, but they're still printed on the same piece of cardboard. So the value is subjective to the person that will pay for it. And that's what we're seeing with NFTs too. There's sort of artwork, and there's images, and there's all kinds of digital art that some is a little bit more rarer than others, and the price is according. So to say it has no value is a myth. The third myth I want to talk to is, why would someone pay good money for something that you can't physically touch? And I think this one's an important one, especially when we sort of rewind the last 18 months during COVID. COVID has accelerated all of our digital lives. I would make a case that we were all already living a pretty digital first life even before COVID, but COVID really has put it into fifth gear. A great example is this conference here today. We've got thousands upon thousands of registrations and speakers from all around the world over 9 hours, and we're all sitting in a room or our living room in our respective homes. But what I want to talk about around digital goods and having sort of digital, what we call flexes, is there is no doubt that people are already spending more money on their digital self than their physical self. Now, whether you think that's right or wrong, it is the reality that we're living in. And I don't see that trend slowing down anytime soon. And if you think about it rationally, if I have a painting in my house, at the moment, I really can't have anyone in my house at Melbourne. But even if I could, if I have maybe 10 people over, that's 10 people that saw my painting. If I change my Twitter or Discord profile picture to an NFT I have, that's thousands upon thousands of eyeballs. And then we talk about something later today called the metaverse, where you're going to hear, people like DCL Blogger and Kai Gani talking about the metaverse and who your avatar is, who your digital identity is in those metaverses. So people are paying premium prices to have a digital identity that is reflective of who they want to be online. The fourth myth I want to talk about is it's just a fad. And I think this one's a pretty easy one to squash. If we think about Web 1.0, with the introduction of websites and e-commerce in sort of the late or mid to late 90s, and then social media, the rise of Web 2.0, which is still very relevant today, sort of that 2005, 6, 7 period, the same headlines that are being thrown at NFT and Web3 right now of it's just a fad, it won't last, were the same headlines we saw in Web 1 and Web 2. And so when you think about it that way, Web3 and NFTs are here to stay. Yes, it's not always going to be smooth sailing and there will be bumps in the road. But we, as Steve and Rochelle have touched on, we're very early. I'm very excited that you're all on this call to learn with us today, because this is all about accelerating your learning curve into the Web3 ecosystem. So before I wrap up, I've touched on the myths. I want to tell you some of the magic. And this is certainly not an extensive list because there's plenty of magic and you're going to hear a lot more magic today. But the first piece of magic I want to talk on is monetizing internet culture. And we're going to have a whole panel on this afternoon. We are seeing internet memes that we're accustomed to over the last couple of years selling for 5, 6, 7 figures as NFTs. And ultimately what NFTs is doing is it's bridging culture and finance. We are seeing an intersection of culture and finance playing right out in front of our eyes as we sit here in September 2021. The second piece of magic I want to touch on is the concept of you own it in one place and you own it everywhere. So I touched briefly before on the metaverse. So ultimately, we're going to hear also around some blockchain gaming and sort of what we're calling play to earn models. And you're going to hear some fantastic speakers from a wide range of companies and builders later today around this play to earn model with blockchain gaming. And ultimately, when I grew up and playing different video games, you couldn't take your digital assets outside of that game. And for those that are familiar with Fortnite or Roblox, or you've got kids that play that and use your credit card to sort of upgrade their digital assets within those games, that's great. And they can do that within the 4 walls of those games, but they can't take those digital assets outside of the 4 walls. With blockchain gaming and play to earn, you can actually trade your assets and you own those assets. So they become actually a valuable investment for you. So it's fascinating, again, how the pendulum is swinging back to the end collector, the people like you and I. The second last piece of magic, the third one, I want to talk about just how much NFTs reduce friction. So even I have friends that sort of trade Pokemon cards and basketball cards and all kinds of things. And if you're doing that, via meeting people in real life or sending them in the post, utilizing eBay and sort of websites like that, there is a large amount of friction. With the smart contracts and NFT trading, you can be trading with someone for big money. You don't even know what they look like, who they are, but you can feel comfortable that trade is going to be executed on the blockchain and it's going to happen instantaneously. So the friction has really been reduced with NFTs, and it's just a lot of fun. So if you haven't kicked the tires on NFTs yet, I would highly encourage you to do so, especially over the next week, because you're going to learn a lot today. So make sure you capitalize on that learning. The last thing I'm going to touch on, the fourth myth, and I should say the fourth piece of magic, and arguably my favorite. It's we are seeing the emergence of brands trying to build from the ground up, utilizing an NFT. So we've heard about the Bored Ape Yacht Club from Steve before, and I touched on it. And we've also seen the Cool Cats NFT project and Gary Vee's VeeFriends. VeeFriends has a lofty ambition, essentially, of being a new Disney. Now, whether that makes it or not, that is Gary's ambition, is to make a new Disney born about from NFTs. And Bored Apes and Cool Cats are on the same path. So it's flipping the traditional model that we've seen over the last few decades where, IP brands may start as movies or comics or TV shows, and they trickle down sort of merchandise and things like that. We are now seeing Bored Ape Yacht Club, etc., give IP rights to make derivatives and help build the brand from the ground up and develop out a real solid ecosystem, which in then turn increases the value of those early adopters to the tokens. So I think it's a fascinating space to look at. We really are only scratching the surface. You're going to hear from a number of lawyers today as well that have some thoughts around sort of the IP implications of doing that. So that's it from me. I will be back at 1 o'clock today on the sports panel with representatives of the NBL basketball, Melbourne Victory, and also Hannah Glass, one of the lawyers I just touched on. But for now, I have the privilege of actually handing you over to our first panel of the day, moderated by the original NFT archaeologist himself, Adam McBride, who has been unearthing personally a number of those projects I spoke about at the start of my talk from the early days building on Ethereum blockchain. Seb Brocha from CryptoArte, just an incredible NFT collection. that visualizes the history of the Ethereum blockchain through generative art, a 2018 project. Can't wait to hear from Seb. Abby Abstract, a phenomenal NFT artist with an amazing story to tell, and Lakos, the co-founder of the Koala Intelligence Agency. So without further ado, thanks for being here. Adam, I'm going to hand it over to you. Thanks very much.